let's try to understand what is astrology, because it is still a mystery for a common person, because a lot of people, they give it the different names. Some call it a witchcraft, some call it a card shuffling, some say that it is an occult subject, some say it is a lead to the fatalism. And the people like us who have studied this subject in detail, we say that this is an exact knowledge. Not only knowledge, but it is a divine knowledge, which is very, very useful to all of us. And we know that this knowledge, astrology, as far as our Indian Vedas are concerned, so it was a part of Indian Vedas. We call them eight Vedang, we call the part of the Vedas. And they were Siksha, Kalp, Nirup, Vyakaran, Chand, and Jyotish. Jyotish was basically astrology. And astrology was supposed to be the eyes of the Vedas. Unless we understand astrology, we cannot implement the Vedas in our life. It was considered so important. They called it the eyes of the Vedas. Now, question is, what is the meaning of astrology? Astrology is basically the influence of stars on the human beings or the living beings. Influence of stars on the living beings. And when we say that influence of stars on the living being, and immediately a question comes in our mind. And it's a natural question which should come to everybody's mind, that stars or the planets are millions and millions away from us. So how they can influence our living being on the earth? It's a natural question. It should come in the mind of everyone. So I always give them an example of tides in the sea. We know we have tides in the sea. And I think most of us also know the reason for tides in the sea. I hope you know it. What is the reason for tides in the sea? Why do we have tides in the sea?
Gravitational force of moon. It causes tides.
Krishnaji, you know why we have tides in the sea? Anyone else?
Actually, moon attracts water when it is the full moon or every day, like the moon is coming in the sky, it attracts water. That's why we see the high tides.
No, no. It's because when the gravitational pull of sun and moon, when the gravitational pull of sun and moon combines on the earth, this is on the particular days only, when the sun and moon's gravitational pull, it combines on the earth. We have tides in the sea. We have tides in the sea. And you can imagine how much is the water in the sea, how much is the mass of water in the sea. And we know that the waves go up to 15-meter high, 15 feet high when there's a tide in the sea. And we can't even imagine, it's unbelievable how much force is required to lift the water to 15 feet, such a huge mass. And naturally, people will think it may be some reason, it may be in the sea, but how we are concerned, how the human beings or the living beings are concerned on the earth. So I would like to tell you, it has been scientifically, medically proved that whatever salts are available in the seawater, whatever salts are available in the seawater, we have the same salts in our blood also. And not only the same salts, but they are in the same percentage also. They are in the same percentage also. And recently, or not recently, about a couple of years back, there was a death of John F. Kennedy Jr. in US. And in Times of India, a story was published on the front page with the heading that in USA, the remains of John F. Kennedy Jr. consigned to the sea. So I just out of curiosity, I started reading that article, because in USA, then ashes, then consigned to the sea. I was not able to understand actually. So in that article, they quoted the speech of that late President John F. Kennedy, which he delivered in 1962. And you know what he said in that speech? I will just read the two sentences out of that speech, which was quoted in that article. It said that all of us have in our veins the exact same percentage of salt in our blood that exists in the ocean. We are tied to the ocean, and when we go back to the sea, whether it is to sail or watch it, we are going back from whence we came. It means we are all part of the sea. This is a speech of American president. We are all part of the sea. In our body, we have 70% water. We have the same salts as are available in the sea water, and not only the same salt, they are in the same percentage. So that's why ashes are consigned to the sea, so that we came from the sea and we go back to the sea. And even in India, you see, we consign our ashes to the rivers like Gangas and all those rivers. And where they do go? They go to ultimately to the sea only. So it is exactly the same thing. The Ganga is also going to the sea. Ultimately, Ganga Sagar is there actually. So ultimately, the purpose is we are the part of the ocean water. We body is 70% water, and not only water, but it has the same percentage of salt as is available in the seawater. And normally, we keep on saying that stars have an influence on the human body, but nobody agrees because nowadays they say that unless we get some proof of that, we will not agree. So a lot of people they tried, and I tell you that a couple of years back, an article was published in leading magazine of India, which is Reader Digest, and it was published by the name that stars not that does the moon make us mad? Does the moon make us mad? And what they did that a lot of ecologists, naturalists, psychologists, rationalists, they combined together. And they wanted to see what is the influence of different phases of moon on the human beings. So they did experiment in a number of places, number of countries. And what they decided that they tried to survey the call reports from the different police control room in the different cities. Then they also tried to see the matches like football and hockey matches played by the same players on the different dates. And after doing experiment for, I think, about 3-4 years, they made some conclusion, and that was published in that article. Firstly, it said that violence increases under full moon. Violence increases under full moon. That is when we have tides in the sea, or when the gravitational pull of sun and moon, it combines and falls on the earth, actually. And what they did, I told you that they went to the different police control room, and they tried to see when we get the maximum calls, on which day we get the maximum calls. And they found that on the day of full moon, they get the maximum number of calls. And that's why the emergency room, they gear up on that particular day, actually. So this was inferred after a lot of experiment by all these people, actually. Then they also said that the lunar influence of the different phases of the moon, they also have an influence on the birth rate and also on the menstruation cycle of the females. This is also they found out. And third most important thing was they tried to see the different matches played by the same players. And you know that they found that the behavior of the players on the different lunar date is entirely different. If you see a match on the day of full moon, and if you see a match on the day of 8th day of the lunar month, there is a wide difference in the energy of the same players and playing the same match, but there's a wide difference in the energy they have on the day of Purnima and the day they have on the 8th tithi of the lunar month, actually. So this is all they found. So ultimately they concluded that when moon can still the ocean, why not the blood of humans? This is what they concluded. And even few years back, a company, an insurance company in the UK, they did a survey, and that was the purpose of insurance. They wanted to know that the behavior of uh, drivers of the different zodiacal signs and who are the people who are most involved in the accident. So after doing a lot of survey for a number of years, they found that the drivers with the Aries as the zodiacal sign, they are more prone to the accident. They're more prone to the accident, and these are the people who get the maximum number of tickets, and they are the violators of the traffic rules, actually. And this we have been saying from the very beginning, because Aries sign is ruled by the planet Mars. And people who are governed by the Mars, the people are very rash in actions, very rash in actions. So naturally, they found the same behavior of the drivers having Aries sign as their zodiacal signs. But recently, very recently, uh, in US also, a company known as insurancehotline.com, that is also an insurance company. They also wanted to know that what of which zodiacal sign drivers in it. So what they did that they studied about 1 lakh North American drivers for a period of 6 years. And after that, they came to certain conclusions. You know what did they say? They said that Libra and Aquarius sign people, Libra and Aquarius sign people, they are the worst offender for ticket and accidents. Libra and Aquarius sign people. And they also said that Leo and Gemini sign people, they are the best overall. They are the best overall. And Leo sign people, they are most generous, most comfortable in sharing the roadways. But what did they say about Aries sign people? You were surprised to know that they came to the conclusion that Aries sign people, they have the me first childlike attitude. Let me go first. Me first childlike attitude, which drives them into troubles. They are the most violators of the traffic rules, and they get the maximum number of tickets also. So again, came to the same conclusion that Aries sign people are the worst offenders as far as violation of the traffic rules are concerned. Because in astrology, we have been saying that people influenced by the planet Mars, they are very rash in action. That's why they get involved in the accidents. And as far as the legal validity of this subject is concerned, I don't know whether you know it or not. In 2001, February 2001, Government of India decided, and rather University Grant Commission in India, they they published a notification that was a UGC notification, and that directed all universities to introduce courses in astrology. And they said that the courses should be at 3 levels: graduate level, postgraduate level, and research level. So these courses should be introduced at 3 levels. And in Hindi, they called it Jyotirvigyan. Jyotirvigyan. They didn't say that Jyotish, they said Jyotirvigyan. It's a science, they said actually. And you know what happened after that? There are a lot of hue and cry in India. And the people, though so-called scientists and rationalists, they made a lot of noise. They said it is sheer nonsense. It is sheer superstition. And by this notification, country has been put 150 years backward. And some people even they went to the extent that this is against the principle of secularism, which is inherent in the Constitution of India. Immediately, the people filed number of cases in the different courts. First case was filed in the High Court of Andhra Pradesh. Then that was rejected. Then they filed an application in the Supreme Court of India. And Supreme Court, in its judgment, you know what did they say? The two things are important. First thing is, they said that astrology is an interpretation of astronomy. And when you consider astronomy as a science, why not the astrology? Astrology should also be considered as a science. This is what Supreme Court said. And second thing, Supreme Court said that astrology is being taught in some universities, even in the foreign countries, even in the Western countries. and it's a knowledge of India. So what is the harm in teaching this subject in India also? So they rejected the case filed by the people actually. They asked for the putting immediate ban on the UGC notification. And in that case, Government of India also filed an affidavit. And in that affidavit, they said that astrology is a 4,000-year-old trusted science. Astrology is a 4,000-year-old trusted science. This is what the Government of India said at that time. And people were not even satisfied. They went to Bombay High Court, they filed an PIL. They said that immediately ban should be put on all astrologers, numerologists, palmists, and Vastu Sastris. But that was also rejected in 2010. So this is the legal validity of this subject. And some people, they say that it is not a science, it is an art, and they get involved in this controversy. I always ask those people, do you know the meaning of science? And to my surprise, nobody could tell me the meaning of science. So-called scientists, they don't know even the meaning of science. And if you see the dictionary says that any knowledge put in a systematic order is a science. Any knowledge put in a systematic order is a science. We call social science, political science, legal science. Why we call them science actually? So we should not enter into that controversy because this astrology was put in the systematic knowledge 4,000 years old. It's as old as our Vedas. As old as our Vedas. So there's no question why it should not fall in the definition of science. But anyway, we can also say that it is a knowledge. It's a wonderful knowledge. It's a divine knowledge, which is being used in the entire world in a very productive, very useful manner. But nobody knows. Nobody is aware if the entire world is using this knowledge. I will give you a few examples, then you will be able to understand also. We go to a doctor, and when the doctor writes the name of the medicine, prescription, you know what they write before writing the name of the medicine or the prescription? What they write?
Right, RX recovery, sir.
RX. RX they write? I hope everyone agrees with me. And not only in India, not only in one city, not only in one country, you go to any corner of the world. You go to any corner of the world. Every doctor will write RX before writing the name of the medicines. And I tried to ask thousands of doctors, what is the meaning of this RX? Why are you writing RX? Nobody knows. It's surprising that as a scientist, as a student of science, you study at least medical studies 10 years, 12 years, and you are asked to do certain thing. But you don't even ask them why I'm being asked to write RX. Neither doctor knows, neither patient knows, and everything is going on. Nobody has even dared to know why I'm being asked to write RX. And surprisingly, at least I have checked with thousands of doctors. Nobody, some say maybe it's maybe Latin word, it may be Roman word, it may be this word, it may be that, but nobody knows. So you know why why do they write RX? No.
Sir, it
In
is
astro
request to God, sir. May he recovers.
Pardon?
It's like an request to God, sir.
Correct. RX is what? In astrology, you will read we have different planets. Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Ketu, and Venus. And one of the planet is Jupiter. Jupiter is like a guru, like a god, like a planet which gives us the divine blessings. Divine blessings. So Jupiter is exactly considered like a god. In Hindu religion, we know that whenever we do some important work, we just write the name of our God. Whichever God we believe, we write the name. Somebody write Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman, whatever is there, they write the name of the God actually. So it's a common practice because we seek the blessing of God before doing anything actually. And RX is the symbol of the planet Jupiter in astrology. I will show you what is the symbol, but it is a symbol of the planet Jupiter in astrology. It means we seek the blessing of God, or we are writing the name in the name of the God. Because we go to any doctor, जैसे हिंदी में लिखा होता है कि दवा से ज्यादा दुआ की जरूरत है.